How are you guys? Welcome to Sit Spot. Hope you're having a good day. I want to talk today about narratives, things we tell ourselves, how they play out, and why we kind of find ourselves searching for witnesses or audiences in life. I think many of us find ourselves in situations on a fairly consistent basis where we're doing things for other people. And it's not necessarily in a positive way. Obviously, it's positive to do things for other people, but it's not good to alter your behavior when it comes to seeking the approval of other people. It's not a charitable function at that point or anything that's, making progress in the world. You're altering yourself. And I think it's easy to see why that happens. Many of us, we tell ourselves stories. The term narrative, we're kind of narrating our lives. And a lot of us, if you're going to tell a story, you need an audience, right? People in your life, whether it's your friends, family, coworkers, just strangers that you encounter, people in places that you frequent, you're sort of telling yourself a story as it relates to them. And I think that's why a lot of us find ourselves in jobs that are either unfulfilling. We find ourselves in social situations that maybe we don't want to be in. We find ourselves living a life that is somebody else's path. This is not uncommon in today's day and age. We're looking to share our lives with somebody. We're communal creatures. But there's a certain truth that's missing in your experience of life with everybody, especially as it comes to being a witness. Because there's not a single person on this earth who shares your truth. And I'll explain this. Even your friends, your family, your significant other, there's something you keep from them in the back of your mind. They're not there for every single solitary experience of your life, right? Coworkers don't come home with you. Your family doesn't go to work with you. The people you're surrounded by on a daily basis, whoever it is, they're not consistently dealing with the true thoughts that you have in your head that you choose not to share with anybody. Your stresses, your fears, the things that you're not comfortable telling people. Those are things that we often live with. We often live with them quietly. And so I think it's interesting when we think about witnesses or people who are hearing our story, rarely do we think of ourselves. And in reality, you are the only witness for your life. You're the only one who's there for every single thought, for every single emotion, whether it's spoken, manifested, or not. You're there for every action, every up, down. You're the only one who's there for all of it. You're the only one who experiences truth on that level as it applies to your life. And so I think so often, what if instead of living our lives according to the perception of others, what if you told your story in a way in which you were the consumer, in which you were the one who was reading the tale? What would be different? I think for most of us, there would be, at the very least, something that would change. For most of us, I think the change would be fairly significant. It's natural to seek approval, and even the most enlightened people, even the most carefree people, we all have the sense and a need to belong. And I think our sense for adventure, our sense of self, our sense of fulfillment is often a casualty of that. We find ourselves living lives that are based on the approval, or at least the positive perception of somebody else, and not necessarily you, the individual, the person who consumes the all-knowing truth of your life. And I think the best thing that we could all do realistically, is live our truth and tell our story in a way that we want to read it, that we want to watch it, that we want to see it. So many of us are lost in 2020, right? It's become a thing where you find people searching for meaning, find people searching for followers, more people that they can falsely present their narrative to. It's why social media is so addicting. You look at things like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, it's all about saying, hey, look, this is the number of people who are consuming my narrative, consuming my story. And at the end of the day, there's emptiness in that because, again, deep down, we know that none of those people consume our truth and our life in the way that we do. So again, ask yourself, stop, think about it, and say, what would the truest version of me do right now? If I wasn't pressured by other people's perception, if my actions weren't judged as successful or unsuccessful by somebody else, how would my life be different? I think that's the first step in the process of waking up and realizing that your life is your own. There's an inherent freedom in that when you start to realize that the only person who's living your story is you. And it's important that we act that out on a daily basis. Your friends, your family, the people you care about, the greatest gift you can give them is you being yourself. And the reason that's the greatest gift is because it gives them permission to be themselves. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking for. We're all trying to see in the dark. We're all trying to remain ourselves despite constant outside pressure from the world, from media, from marketing, who's telling us you need to be a certain way, you need to act a certain way, you need to have a certain job or education or social status. Do you? I don't know how often we stop and think about whether the things that are constantly pushed on us are something that we actually want. Many of us as young people think we want a certain career or a certain amount of money, and then we get into that career or that certain path, and we realize that what we want is to be free. We don't want to be told how to dress, how to act, how to speak. You've always been free, and you've always had that truth, that experience of life that is uniquely yours. It's the greatest gift that we all have. It's the universal truth that we all have. We're all sharing an experience that is uniquely our own. And so when you step into that light, when you share that with other people, it's an incredibly powerful thing. And if you can get somebody else to step even a little bit in that direction, you've done your job as a human being. If you've inspired them to just be a little bit more of themselves. And so rather than presenting a false narrative or a false perception of life to the people around you, the fancy car, the things, the job, whatever it is, present the truest version of you. You understand your flaws, you understand your insecurities, you understand the things that keep you up at night in a way that nobody else can. And those things don't go away just by simply ignoring them. So if you find yourself in this position where you're constantly trying to live up to the ideals or appeal to somebody else, it's time to stop that. It's time to start telling our stories as if we were the ones reading them. I think it's a simple path to happiness, it's a simple path to contentment, and it's a simple path to inspiring others. So many people need to hear this message. So many people need to see us acting out genuine intentions. And I think when you find yourself acting out genuine intentions, you'll find that these other things like social status, financial obligations, outside of your basic living necessities, they don't matter as much. They don't matter as much. Your truth and your experience is what matters. It's a cliche thing to say, but we all at some point do everything that we do for the last time. Everything that you do at one point, you do it for the last time. You never know when that's coming. And so it would be a real shame to forego these things that bring out the true sense of who you are, that make you feel inspired and worthwhile and, true down to your core. So as you go about your day, your weekend, your life, keep this in mind. Focus, deeply on what it is that you want to be, what it is that matters to you, and run blindly in that direction. Run blindly in the direction of your truth. Run blindly in the direction of your passion, and inspire others to follow you. So many of us are looking for something that is right in front of our faces. And it's the freedom that we all have the potential, we all have the ability to give ourselves, to grant ourselves, and in granting it to ourselves, we grant it to others. I hope you guys found this useful. Have a good rest of your day.